So you're addicted to likes. God damn it. That sucks. But is this really the same as this? Let's talk about it. Hello, my name is Ramon Phipps, also known as A Detail. I apologize for any background noise that you may hear. My cat is eating. Let's dive right into it. Social media validation. Oh, gotta love it. It's a very interesting topic in itself. The reason being is because I don't think there's a human being on this earth that doesn't get that rise from a like on social media. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, rushes throughout your brain when you're experiencing certain things, makes you feel euphoric, makes you feel like you're on top of the world sometimes, depending on how it's used and how you actually get that particular influx. Now, dopamine's a very interesting thing because it actually is one of the primary neurochemicals that leads to addiction in the first place. And when we're now thinking about that one small action of getting a like on our social media, whether it's a comment we posted, a video we posted, or anything of the sort, but that validation, it is external validation, okay? And if you ever see my self-esteem talk, which I could link in this video, remind yourself that external validation can be very dangerous because this is what leads us into a lot of problems regarding our self-worth. So, if we are looking at social media, let's recognize first and foremost, it's not all bad, guys. I mean, when I'm a millennial myself, Generation Y, and I grew up at the boom of social media when it first started. Facebook was really coming to prominence when I started high school in 2008, at least here in Canada. And I just remember, it was all fun. It was a new community, a new environment that you can dive right into and you felt right at home. Now, interestingly enough with social media, as it grew, as it developed, a lot of bad things happened. And I'm just going to focus on one particular aspect, the most intense and extreme aspect, which is when people sometimes complete the action of taking their own life because of cyberbullying. Cyberbullying did not really exist when I was in K-5 school years, but it started to become a thing, of course, as I was in middle school and going into high school because everyone was using social media. Social bullying became something that was not just designated for real life, but it could take place in the digital space as well. That really changed our lives. It changed the dynamic of the world, and it really goes to show how social media, it created this interconnected presence that no one was aware of. I remember when the micro-crisis was happening across the world due to civil wars happening in the Middle East, and how the world was connected through photos, images that were shared on social media about stories and experiences that you would never really hear about if you were just watching normal news, if you were just listening to it on radio, or if you might have heard it in passing from a friend. I mean, this interconnection that we now have the ability to experience is only because of social media. And I think that the empathy, the worldwide empathy that we get from social media is a very beautiful thing. Is social media dangerous? Yes, because again, that drive is responsible for any and all addictions. It can lead you into a compulsive addiction towards that particular stimulus, being social media. However, what about social media can be addictive? Not everything about it. Again, most of the time we all spend the time scrolling through on our phones, whether we're on the toilet or we just woke up from our sleep, or we're just chilling, doing nothing whatsoever, or just walking down the street scrolling on social media. Can be quite the nice little leisure pastime, but when does it actually become a problem? Let's remind ourselves what addiction is in terms of this general clinical definition. Addiction is a set of behaviors that you will pursue at cost of risk and detriments to other facets of your life, your family life, your social life, your financial life, and everything of this sort. Now, the addict knowingly commits to these actions in pursuing their stimulus, even if they cause detriments to other facets of their life. That's the issue here. Our moral compass is skewed when we're in the process of addiction, and it really leads us towards acting out of ourselves. Now, the addictive personality, that's another focus, because the addictive personality consists of two things, which is obsessive thinking patterns and compulsive behavioral habits. The World Health Organization looks at gaming, for example. Gaming can be a general pastime, but yes, it can be a compulsive behavioral habit for some people. You can look at the stories from East Asia or all around the world where people have actually died from compulsive behavioral habits related to gaming way too long to the point where they do not eat. That is a problem, yes. Now ask yourself, Is there ever a situation or scenario in which somebody can actually cause detriments to their life from social media? Well, yes, I mentioned it earlier in this video. People have taken their life because of bullying, cyberbullying that takes place on social media. This might be a new phenomenon to you, but it's something that I grew up with as a part of Generation Y. The generation after me, Generation Z, those younger little kids, they're gonna suffer the most. And I don't say suffer as in, there's this predetermined fate for them, but they are going to be the most susceptible because they grow up in a world, in an environment where social media is second nature. They are meant to connect that way. This is not where the world is. And of course, all the things that opened up to me and my generation, such as our emotional sensitivities that we weren't ready to put on display for the world to see and receive a lot of pushback. They are living in this on a daily basis. I can't really even understand that. Can social media be bad? Can it create detriments in your life? One simple way to look at it in terms of yes is that, well, people have died many times from texting and driving, and I'm sure in some of those cases they weren't just on their messaging apps, but they're probably on a social media app as well too. Just looking at a DM, scrolling through a post. How many times have you found yourself on social media compulsively? Just almost by instinct, going for your phone, pulling it up, Facebook, Instagram, or something of the sort. I mean, it's scary when these things become second nature, because that compulsive habit is the danger that leads anybody into an addiction. Obsessive thinking patterns are something that a lot of people share, especially if you have any type of relevant anxieties. Now, anxiety, you can look at it as this disorder, meaning that there's clinical steps that you got to go through in order to get the diagnosis. But most people share traits of anxiety in some way, shape, or form, which is shyness, nervousness, general fears towards many different things. Fears towards the unknown, fears towards catastrophes, fears towards loss of control, fears towards invalidation and judgment. That invalidation and judgment is where social media validation and its problem finds its home. Because it is a fear that we all share. For some people, it's a lot more intense than others. Now, if it's a fear that we all share, that's the issue here. It is a fear we all share, but no one really sees that for themselves, the fear of invalidation and judgment. How can we enter into a social space that is digital with this fear gone unacknowledged? We put ourselves in danger. We put ourselves in the fire, knowing that we may be individuals who sometimes put ourselves in a position where we cry, where we feel a lack of self-worth, where we feel like we're individuals who are ugly, stupid, that are not attractive to other people. I mean, we put ourselves out there on social media, and sometimes this pushback in itself is unexpected. It hits hard, and it hurts. And as human beings, we don't really experience that a lot in our daily life, but when we start to experience it in such a contained way that's very direct towards us, we put a post up and somebody says, oh, this is a stupid post, you're saying stupid things, you should just get off or kill yourself. I mean, the bravery that comes with being able to be anonymous online is different, and it really shows a lot of people's true colors. And it coming out and it now affecting you, that's where the issue starts. The issue is not social media. The issue is how we start to, of course, look for worth, look for validation, look for a sense of even identity on this digital space. Bringing it back to us is always going to be important. I talk about this particular concept a lot in all of my talks. It's just called mindfulness. Learning how to love ourselves is going to trump everything that social media can throw at us. But social media, it can also create so much manipulation that we're not aware of. I mean, you could go to a forum talking all the crap you want to talk, and you get all this confirmation bias. Again, the likes, the clicks, the I agree with you from people all around the world. It makes you feel good, it makes you feel high. And that's the addictive element of it, because that high, it can come down very fast the moment that we get the opposite response that we want, or we are confronted, or we are challenged. But the bigger issue, amongst all the issues I just mentioned, is that when you come back into the real world, your self-esteem is affected from your involvement in social media. Comparison traps become a routine mentality for the individual who finds himself obsessing and compulsively diving into social media over and over and over again What are comparison traps? Comparison traps are simple. You are comparing yourself to another individual. Every time you will see on social media the good things about people's life. They highlight the amazing things. They brag about the things that they just got. And while it's all fine and dandy, you rarely see the individual share the dark things about their life. Probably the other 50% of what their daily activity truly is, which is them just doing nothing at all, or maybe ruminating about how much they are not doing. But heck, let me forget about that for a moment. Let me make sure everyone sees that I'm doing well by posting this photo with me on the beach and smiling and happy with my dog and everything of the sort. I mean, these things are great to show other people. Because again, once I get those light, that can be a drug, 100%. And the reason why people seek drugs in the first place is not only because they feel good, but eventually because they meet a particular need. And needs are equated to our ability to survive in this world. If your need in some way, shape, or form is honed into social media validation, then that is an addiction. If your need for love and belonging, meaning that it's hard for you to connect with people in your own regular real life and everything of the sort, but it's easier for you to connect with your online friends. It's easier for you to connect with individuals that are liking your videos, liking your posts. It's easier for you to connect with social media than it is with the people next to you in real life. That is a problem. The opposite of addiction is connection, but what you're creating with social media validation needs is disconnect from your real world, and that's something that's going to leave you alone. And again, the things that creates addictive cycles with the individual are the patterns of emotions leading to behaviors, emotions to behaviors, not allowing our thoughts to understand our emotions to further affect our behaviors. So if we are now becoming these emotional beings on social media because it makes us feel good when we get a like, or it makes us feel as shit when somebody says something on a video that we don't like, when we receive these opposite effects, it's going to be intense, because this is your world you are living in your mind. And your mind can be a very scary place, especially if you're unaware of your fears and you allow emotions to just continue to dictate your next behavior. Let me throw out one scenario here. If you've ever put a post out and you waited for a little bit of time, and you didn't get a certain amount of likes on that post, so then you delete it, I think you have an issue. And maybe that's something you should look at. And social media, the same as smoking cigarettes. In a sense, yes, obsessions and compulsive behavioral habits lead towards the same end, but as I teach my clients, it's never the drug that is the problem. It's an issue when we use them. As people who are sensitive, as people who are vulnerable, as people who are emotional, as people who are unaware of your own mind and your subconscious actions. Stay mindful. And maybe you'll be able to curb a lot of the downfalls that may come with social media and enjoy it like it's supposed to be enjoyed. But you gotta stay mindful.